This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Well, hello and welcome back to the Research Talks podcast here from Stock Box with, of course, Alan Green and Dan Flynn. So how's the week been? Dan, what's your week been like this week? And we had our newsletter out, didn't we, from Stockbox, written by yourself, which was very good, I thought.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Yeah, that was interesting to write. I mean, it's actually quite hard to put something out like that when you're writing it and it's going out a couple of days later because the market's changing so quickly, particularly with gold, which, it fell initially in the wake of Trump's Liberation Day because investors were liquidating any positions just so they had some cash.
Exactly.
Which we were discussing, weren't we? And we thought that's an interesting buy the dip opportunity. And in the last couple of days, I think we've been vindicated somewhat because gold.
It's incredible. I know it's back at all-time highs, and it's so funny because I think I said I was waiting for a bit of a pullback, and one of my friends here wants to buy gold, and I messaged her this week and said, "Oh, okay, thanks to Trump, it's pulled back. So do you want to go for a couple of sovereigns?" And she said yes. Then I get distracted with things, and literally it's back up at all-time highs. Like I was hoping to buy in at just under 3,000. That's what I was waiting for. 229, whatever 29 it would have been. And I was ready, sort of had the money sat in the Royal Mint, but then just waiting a day, and it went. I thought, okay, I'll leave it another day. And here we are, 3,200 all-time highs.
I know. Yeah, I mean, although there is an argument to be made that it's still a decent buying opportunity, there's certainly a lot of forecasts out there that believe it's going to go higher. I think Goldman's was 3,300 for the end of the year.
Well, the SMI, I keep saying this, and that TA from Florian there was 3,400. He called them cold showers, but his cold shower lasted a day.
Yeah.
But he called it, he said, $100 to $200 pullback. That's what it did. But I suppose he didn't predict it to be on the back of Trump. But It was a cold shower that was very short-lived. Like April showers, I suppose. So maybe I should have taken that analogy and applied it. But anyway, you're right. I think if you're long-term anyway, gold, it doesn't really matter. You can save a few quid, but if you're long-term, it doesn't really matter. But a very interesting week, of course. It seems like almost what we said last week did indeed come true. The headline did come that the tariffs are going to be paused. So there we go. The S&P, what did it rally, 7% or something? Was it around that? I think.
Yes, it was. That was on Wednesday, wasn't it? It was down a little bit Thursday.
Well, Alan, I'd say you're longer in the markets than both me and Dan. Have you seen anything like this before in terms of these sort of wild swings in the major indices?
Well, I have to say it's been I think Trump is possibly starting to lose his nerve slightly. We've got the cost of US debt rising. Obviously bonds. Bonds have been sold off during the last week, and the course of yield has rocketed higher. So I think Trump's getting pressure internally from certain White House officials, but I think the fact that he signaled that he's perhaps prepared to negotiate and reconsider these issues has obviously led to some respite in the markets. But I think I think the thing is, this is the new reality. We're having to trade with this, and I interviewed several chief executives over the past week, and both chief execs are really focused either internally in the UK or on Europe. So there's plenty to go for. What will be, and I think the market's now getting accustomed to the new reality. And certainly, the movements we're seeing in the markets, it's a dream really for day traders. Many brokers we're seeing are making an absolute fortune on the back of these sharp movements, and of course it's the sort of market you wait for. You'd wait 10 years for, and then you could make enough in a few weeks to retire on. So it's good to see this. It's good to see this readjustment, and how this will play out now. I think is anyone's guess, but certainly from the people I've been speaking to this week, there seems to be there seems to be some optimism looking forward, and a sense that there are some real opportunities emerging from this crisis.
Well, I would tend to agree with that. I mean, yeah, if it wasn't the buy the dip opportunity that we talked about, then I don't know what is really. If you are a day trader, you can get the technical and your entries and exits right. Yes, it's what you want. High volatilities where you can obviously do very well. Also, you can obviously do very not well if you don't get it right.
Yeah.
But it's a bit more interesting than grabbing a few points here and there. You can grab all hundreds of points, like 500-600 points. I think was a swing this week on the S&P. And I tend to agree, actually. I think I do see a bit more interest coming back. The numbers were certainly up on a few of our interviews just this week. There's definitely more chat going on in the market. So I think, yeah, as I said, something needed to change. I think the guard, whether you like Trump or not, I think the guard needed to change. And he's certainly shaken it up. So let's see. I hope it doesn't lead to a huge global recession. But, even if it does, to be honest, I think something does need to shake the system up a little bit. To get to sort of re-stimulate.
Well, I think I think, Mark, we've been saying pretty much every year, oh goodness me, it's going to be a good year this year, and then we've just had a year of torpor almost. It's we've just had this flatlining. We're certainly not seeing that now, and I think things are getting interesting. And when you get these sort of moments, the opportunities always emerge. So I think there'll be plenty more opportunity this year.
Exactly. You'll see the crazy valuations in Nvidia, for example. There was a slide someone put up at the SMI, actually, which was I took a picture of it. It's on my Twitter feed, and it was basically circles or bubbles, you might want to call them, and had all the major miners in the world in circles, and then it had a huge circle which sort of encompassed all of that, which was Nvidia's market cap. So it's effectively like the market cap of Nvidia engulfs the market cap of all the major miners in the world. So to get some liquidity coming out of that and down to some more realistic things, I think is not a bad thing, because that stock's just gone crazy, acting like a meme stock. But yeah, we've got some obviously some things to talk about today. We've got Kotoro, who have had a rebrand, a bit of a relaunch as well, so a bit of a new emerging story. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Dan, I know you're pretty close to this story, so just tell us a little bit about Kotoro then, or as I should say, Focus Xplore.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you say, Mark, this week Kotoro changed its name to Focus Xplore and its ticker to FOX. As Kotoro, it had been long in decline due to issues to its legacy assets, but it's completely repositioned over the past year. And I mean completely. Where it was previously focused on base and precious metals exploration across Africa, it's now focused on critical minerals exploration in Ontario in Canada. So in my view, it has a very bright path forward, which I'll get into in a moment. But what makes Fox or CAT especially interesting is that the market has yet to respond to its new focus at all. So with a market cap of less than 1 million as of recording, Fox's valuation, it continues to reflect the Kotoro of old rather than its opportunities anew. And I think the good news is because the company is so small, this could change on a dime. So if it now starts releasing promising exploration updates, it could quickly re-rate to reflect the potential of the assets it's accumulated in the last 6 or so months. And that could make for an excellent entry opportunity right now. So shall I get a little bit into exactly how it's repositioned?
Indeed, yes. Let's talk about the new opportunities, yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, Fox has assembled a new board with decades of industry experience in identifying and advancing exploration opportunities. In particular, Chief Executive Patrick Cullen was the former MD at Tertiary Minerals, where he led the company's copper exploration in Zambia. He's also the former CEO of Cobra Resources and has held senior roles at Montero Mining and African Energy Resources, as well as Anglo Gold Ashanti before that. The company also has POW CEO Sean Wade as its non-executive chairman, so he brings a lot of corporate experience. And Louis Sheepers is a non-executive director, and he's an experienced project developer. So there's a lot of experience behind the wheel here. And the company, Fox, has assembled a portfolio of licenses prospective for uranium, lithium, and magnet metals. That's the term the company's using for the selection of rare earth elements it's focusing on in particular, and those are all based in Ontario. So I think this is key for several reasons. First, uranium, lithium, and magnet metals are all key green transition metals. They hold vital roles in everything from electric vehicles to nuclear power. And second, as well as being ranked as one of the top 10 investment jurisdictions globally for investment, Ontario is also not China. And this means any discoveries Fox makes there will be highly sought after by end users in the Western world who are seeking supply chain security. And I think this has become all the more essential this week as China has flexed its muscles by further tightening its export restrictions on rare earth elements. And finally, as well as looking for the right metals at the right time in the right jurisdiction, Fox's licenses themselves also look very interesting. I won't go through all of them. There's about 8, so in the interest of time. But they've all been staked off the back of focused methodical research and cutting-edge AI tech, which is being used to identify and rank targets. And a couple of highlights include Pearl, which encompasses multiple untested inferred pegmatites, which have been identified through LiDAR. Pegmatites, of course, are the structures that typically encompass lithium mineralization around the world. There's the IVA project, which is centered on anomalous lithium, cesium, and beryllium lake sediment assay results, and is located near Patriot Lithium's Bull project. And there's White Pine as well, which contains very highly anomalous uranium in lake sediment samples, which includes values of up to 149 parts per million, which is an encouraging early start. So I think kind of to summarize, what you have now is a brand new company in Fox. It has 8 exciting projects prospective for highly in-demand metals in a strategically important jurisdiction. And it has the cash to begin exploring them following a raise at the beginning of March. But despite this potential upside, its valuation right now reflects a hangover from Katoro's legacy issues. There was a First Equity research note this week that highlighted this. It said that Fox should be trading at least £3 million at this pre-discovery stage. And that's an upside of nearly 200% from where it is in reality. So I think the key to fixing that disconnect and for Fox to decouple from the Kotoro brand is to get more eyes onto what it's doing from here. And the key to doing that is to deliver positive news flow. So it's encouraging that the company is committed to delivering that from here. I know in your interview with Patrick, the CEO, a couple of weeks ago, Mark, when the company had just expanded the size of IVA, he said the company was planning to get on the ground very soon and was prioritizing its work activities and looking at targets. So as Fox advances through the upcoming field season, which Patrick said he expects to run from May to October in your interview, I believe it could become a very exciting time for early investors as the company learns more about the prospectivity and targets its various projects. And as it tells the market more about what it's learned and what it plans to do next to advance further towards discovery, you'd expect to see buying increase, particularly if it's able to secure a JV or a sale of any of its assets. Though I don't want to run before we can walk here. There's also the likelihood of Fox using its expertise to add further attractive licenses to its portfolio in Ontario, which would expand its upside potentially even further. So I think, long story short, in the face of even a bit more buying, Fox stands to re-rate, and we could see its current market cap quickly become a distant memory.
And most of the projects are the early stage, would you say?
I would, yeah. The company's done a lot of
grassroots.
Desktop research to find these prospective licenses using historic databases. So, I mean, the good thing about that, of course, is if you get on the ground, you quickly to these places that, very little work's been done, and you quickly see that they've been massively overlooked. The prospects increase vastly in a short amount of time and with not a great deal of investment.
So the sort of investment case really is a very low market cap, a turnaround story, and the potential upside of when they get on the ground, which I think is they want to do that this year, don't they? In the summer, I think.
Yeah, that's right. So Patrick had said to you that in the next couple of months they plan to start getting on the ground. I think they're just doing the prep for that at the moment. And like you say, it's not just a turnaround story that's being promised. It's happening. It's on the cusp of reaching the next stage. Yet the valuation hasn't caught up whatsoever. So yeah, I think it's something the market's missing at the moment. It's almost like there's loads of other stuff going on that's holding its attention, but perhaps we'll see that change soon.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, having spoken to Patrick a couple of times, he's definitely driven. I know you've spoken to him quite a bit as well. He's sort of really got the bit between his teeth, hasn't he? He's really going for this with the rebranding. He really wants to build something here. So he's definitely a good guy to sort of trust, I would say, that
Absolutely.
he's doing it for the right reasons, and he wants to build something. Obviously, you're always at the mercy of Mother Nature and geology, but it's not like I don't get the feeling it's a jumping on a bandwagon sort of thing and just trying to have some quick gains. For example, I think Patrick really wants to really build something here, and he's putting a lot of time into positioning the company to do that. So yeah, Alan, do you have any thoughts on the new Kotora?
Yeah, I didn't look at the note in detail, but I think it's Patrick's had several opportunities, obviously with Tertiary and also with Arkle, of course, over the past few years, and I think this will be a really good opportunity for him to really show his qualities as a CEO, because I think in both cases, both companies were run and had directors behind the scenes that perhaps just wanted an MD to front up the company. But in this situation, Patrick's really sort of leading from the front, and I think he's going to be able to really put this on the map. But it's exciting, and it's good to see. I think Kotora was just a real backwater of a company, wasn't it? The assets there were just weren't really doing anything, and with the restructuring down to focus Xplore, I think there's a really good opportunity for investors to invest into the company, and of course into Patrick as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Dan. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. You've got a new team, fresh energy, so they've really got to keep that momentum going now that they've got started here. So yeah, I'm sure we're talking about them quite a bit more as things develop. But let's talk about the next company we want to cover today, which is Cobra Resources. I haven't spoken to them for a while, but did catch up with Rupert just this week. Of course, it's rare earths mainly in Australia with their ISR recovery, but they want to start looking at some of the low-hanging fruits of their gold assets, given, of course, where gold is. So, Dan, tell us about Cobra, and then we've got a bit of a clip from the interview to play from this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first saw that China had placed those export restrictions on 7 rare earths last Sunday, I thought to myself, oh, that should be good for explorers in other jurisdictions. After all, demand for rare earths is growing due to their use in various critical growing technologies. The sources of the metal outside of China are particularly in vogue as nations seek to reduce supply chain dependence. So the fact China is now once again showing how strong it is only seems likely to strengthen that dynamic. So I felt somewhat vindicated to see Cobra release its response to China's rare earth export controls RNS on Monday, in which it said the restrictions mean developing a reliable supply of rare earths, of the rare earths particular on China's export control list, is now more important than ever. So Cobra's announcement obviously ties in nicely with its own interests, as you'd expect. But there's a lot to what it's saying. just as there's an argument to be made that manufacturers can no longer rely on the US as much as they could due to Trump's erratic approach to policy, neither can they rely on China when it's weaponizing its supply chain dominance, rightly or wrongly. And this really benefits Cobra over the long term. So Cobra's Bowland project in South Australia is a huge, highly scalable, high-grade rare earth discovery where mineralization is amenable to in-situ recovery mining. It offers particularly high concentrations of heavy rare earth content, which is where a lot of value in this market comes from. And two of the elements contained in the maiden mixed rare earth carbonate produced from Bowland's ore are terbium and dysprosium. And these just so happen to be two of the rare earths China added to its list of restricted exports earlier this week. And in a subsequent update, Cobra said it will shortly begin metallurgical optimization studies designed to reduce unvaluable rare earths in the ore it's producing and further enrich the quantities of terbium and dysprosium. So, long story short, the macro picture has only served to strengthen what was already a strong strategic case for Bowland. And I think this is something that came across in your interview with Chief Executive Rupert this week.
Yeah, absolutely it was, Dan. So let's run that clip now, and then we can just finish our talking about the opportunity there.
Hi, Mark. Well, there's a lot happening in the capital markets, and it's highlighting how important rare earths are, and in particular terbium and dysprosium are in current trade bargaining chess pieces between the US and China. And fortunately for us, we're advancing a very strategic source of both terbium and dysprosium at our Bowland project. And we're preparing to get back into the field for sonic drilling. And also, Mark, while we're riding volatile commodity prices, one commodity is looking very strong, and that's gold. And we're getting a lot of interest, and we're looking and assessing some options to advance our current existing gold assets towards production. And we have an opportunity to really stand out in the market because of our in situ recovery process. We think we can really refine and increase the value of our product by removing some of the lower value rare earths. And we want to scale up our met testing so we can produce a product for a lot of offtake testing and demonstrate that we can really improve what we've already produced as being a very pure product, but we can maximize the value of that. So this is optimization test work. And we'd like to think we'd be doing what's called a tracer study in June or July. And that is to really mimic the ISR process and demonstrate the permeability of the ore body. So what that means is we'll be able to determine what our production rates could be. So that's an important part to inform our scoping study beyond that. And it's a very exciting thing for us because it puts what we've put forward in concept and demonstrated at bench scale, where you take it to the field and make it real. So very exciting step for us.
Well, the gold project then, so that's currently got a 280,000-ish gold resource on it?
Yes, that's correct. So there's some work to do to improve the confidence on those ounces, and we want to be able to come up with a non-dilutive process to advance that and to do it with a low capex option for production. And with the interest around very high gold prices, we've had a number of days now in Australia with gold trading above $5,000 an ounce, which is just remarkable. So we see it's a very good time for us to be moving on those assets as well.
So when you say a non-dilutive approach and a low capex to production, can you say what you're thinking about at the moment, or is that something that's being worked on?
Look, we're working on a number of options, and the great thing is we have options. So look, that will come more clear in the coming months, and the great thing about that is it's not our priority focus. So really, it's a bonus on what we're delivering in terms of a very strategically important heavy rare earth project. and something that's hugely scalable. So we're very excited about both our assets at present.
Well, there we go. There was an update from Rupert. It was just a little clip there from not an overly long interview that I did. So, I mean, I think on the gold asset, it's nice what they've got, in my opinion. But as he said, it's actually not a priority, it's a bonus. I'm not sure how much of a push they're going to actually make on the gold, which, I don't know. But I'd like to see them perhaps bring that a bit more into the focus because, as we know, of course, with rare earths, the prices have been coming off, and you've got companies like Altona Rare Earths, who obviously are a rare earth company, but they're looking. I think we spoke about them either last week or the week before, and they've got the fluorospar element, and there was another element which I forget. Maybe Dan, you can remember what the element was that they're now.
It's gallium.
Gallium, exactly. So looking at the other credits they've got on their project to again low hanging fruit, while the rare earths are not going. The prices have come off a bit. So I think it's very interesting what Cobra are doing with the ISR. I think that is fairly unique in this space. Rare earths, as we know, are pretty hard to process. So at least there's going to be a lot going on with them. The MET test work seems to be going well, and they're going to get into the field fairly quickly. But I would probably like to see them put a bit more effort into the gold, just to explore that a bit more, if it really is a pathway there to monetize that, either through getting into small scale production or indeed moving it on, and shoring up the balance sheet, given the price of gold.
Sorry, Mark. I think the gold is a nice optionality to have, particularly at a time when prices are forecast to rise so much. I think what the company, at its core, what it has to do now is prove the scale and potential of Poland as a low-cost, environmentally friendly and reliable source of those two rare earths, terbium and dysprosium. And that is what it's doing. It's vast drilling programs underway at the moment and through coming months to improve grades and produce a new mineral resource estimate for later this year. You got the technical work geared towards optimizing the recovery of those two minerals. I think the company's targeting upfront capex of around 15% of that of similar projects, and a lot of its work is being funded by the placing it completed in November, where it raised 1.7 million. And I think, and once drilling is complete, Cobra plans to undertake a scoping study later this year. So, like you say, I think the gold is an area they can add value, but I think that scoping study is going to be where things really start to get interesting in terms of attracting development funding or a potential purchase of Poland. And I think in the meantime, results that continue to drive that project forward, both from drilling and the ISR work, should help to support growth in the company's valuation from 10 million where it stands today. Although obviously nothing's guaranteed in this market, I think the size of that Poland project and its strategic importance mean that the company's certainly worth keeping an eye on from here.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Dan. I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how they go as we go on throughout the year. Alan, before we start talking about Anglesey, do you have any thoughts on Cobra?
I have to say, I think Cobra it's hitting a sweet spot at just the right time. I mean, we're seeing the importance of rare earths with China's restrictions now, and I think that was very much in focus a couple of weeks ago. Of course, Cobra Resources IPO'd on the London markets with the Ampasindava rare earth project, which is one of the largest ionic clay rare earth deposits outside China. So everyone is focused on rare earths, and of course these are targeting neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, and terbium, essential for both AI defense, clean energy. So Rupert and team, I think, are developing Poland at the right time. So it's a very exciting time for rare earths.
Excellent. Well, thank you both. So, Alan, let's talk about Anglesey then. I know you follow this company very closely, and you've, of course, been visited the site as well.
I did indeed, yes. And I interviewed Chief Exec Rob Marsden yesterday, and it was a fascinating discussion, really, about the Paris Mountain project. And of course, Anglesey Mining has been listed on It's one of the longest standing companies listed on the London markets. AYM is the EPIC code. The shares are currently trading at 0.95p. They've been as low as 0.55p and as high as 1.62. It's got a market cap of 4.5 million, but it in no way is representative of the asset the company has. And yes, Paris Mountain is on the island of Anglesey. It's 100% owned by the company. Paris, by the way, is spelled P-A-R-Y-S, not I-S. The workings there go back hundreds of years. In fact, it's thought that copper mining was taking place as far back as 3,500 years ago. So it's an ancient site. The original mine, which is an open cast mine, there's something of a lunar landscape there, and it looks like the surface of the moon. It's very impressive. It's been used for film sets and everything else, but more recently, a head frame was built there and a shaft was drilled called the Morris Shaft, and the company established a resource base of 5.3 million tons at 4% combined base metals, and also 10.8 million tons at over 2.5% combined base metals inferred. That was some years back. More recently, under the tenure of the previous chief exec Joe Badasil, the company has been drilling at the Northern Copper Zone. I visited the site when the drilling work was underway, looked at the core and the core shed, and some pretty impressive results came back. We were looking at 9.4 million tons inferred at 1.27% copper, and all of this is working towards an upgraded PFS, and of course that's where the issue comes in, because in the markets that we're in at the moment, it's very, very difficult to obtain funding, and this is the challenge that Chief Exec Rob Marston and the team have been battling with. Rob has nonetheless, since he joined in May last year, he's progressed the asset well. They've undertaken an environmental scoping or environmental impact assessment report to North Wales Minerals and Waste Planning Service. It's important to understand that the Paris Mountain asset has full support of the Anglesey local government, has full support from the community there. They're very pro the mine. And there's also an established route to market once the assets are bought out of the ground. There's a road route established to Holyhead Port, and there is also a jetty there that could be used to load ships. So it is almost a plug and play solution ready to go. Nonetheless, of course, many millions of pounds are required to get the company to that point. And in the current environment, Rob and his team have taken a different approach, and they have partnered with a company called Re-Energize with an RHE. And Re-Energize have developed a unique energy storage system. And they're building a pilot demonstrator plant at Sibelco's mining operation at Cornwood near to Plymouth. And this is where a form of hydroelectricity using a unique liquid is built. It's a high density fluid. The company referred to it as R19, and it's several times the density of water. It's a bit like milk, with the consistency of milk, and this fluid flows through the system, through the hydro system, generates the electricity, and then when the power costs at night or overnight are cheap, that fluid is then pumped up again and then is pumped back through to generate electricity at the peak time. So it's the arbitrage between the fluid being pumped at the top and then, of course, the fluid generating power during the day. But of course, the difficulty is with something like this, you've got to dig a huge hole in order to get the fluid. You've got to have the reservoirs and everything else in place. Paris Mountain has all of the infrastructure in place to do that. So so Rob and Stephen Croce at Reenergise have worked together. They're putting together a plan currently, and that was the discussion I had on the interview. If you go to the BN Communications channel on YouTube, you'll see the interview that I did with Rob yesterday, and Rob explains all this in detail. But this, of course, will then transform Paris Mountain potentially as a clean energy project. It'll have all sorts of funding available to it. But in terms of the work that's required to install the plant and the equipment, that work will also advance the Paris Mountain project towards PFS. So it's a win-win for both. So it becomes a clean energy project. It attracts all sorts of grants and grant funding, and at the same time, it advances the project. So it's at a really exciting juncture at present. This isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time to get this up and running. But I think Rob and the team at Paris Mountain, Anglesey Mining, have come up with a very innovative and long-lasting solution to generate power, and of course that power will also be used further down the road to power the mining operation at Paris Mountain. So it offers, I think, a great opportunity at this level, one to tuck away, and you'll certainly see, I believe, substantial gains further down the road.
Okay, so when you say one to tuck away, I mean, can we expect to see some activities throughout the course of the summer, or is it more just more of a long term?
No, very much so. There will be activities throughout the summer. The company are seeking funding partners to build and put this in place. But unlike the pilot plant that had to be built at Sibelco, all of the infrastructure, i.e. the Morris shaft, the reservoirs that are required above and below, those are all pretty much in place. Some modifications to be done, but you haven't got to basically dig a huge hole into the ground and go down 280 meters because it's already there.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Dan, have you got any thoughts on Anglesey?
No, it's quite a new one to me, but just listening to Alan, I think it's really encouraging that they have everything in place other than the funding for that polymetallic mine, and they've come up with such an innovative way to keep the show on the road and keep creating value and keeping things going while they pursue that funding.
Indeed. Well, I think, Mark, of course, you and I remember last year at Mines and Money at the Cornish Pavilion.
Yeah.
So many private companies there were able to access money. Of course, Cornish Lithium raised £25 million from the UK Infrastructure Bank. So the funding is there to support UK projects. And it's important to remember and recognise that Paris Mountain is the UK's most advanced project for primary mining of copper, lead, silver and zinc. And of course, all of these on the government critical minerals list. Well, zinc certainly is anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's finish off then with a new one, Alan. So we've got Billington Holdings, so a steel play, which is timely, isn't it? Because wasn't there something in the news this morning? Wasn't Rachel, as they call her, Rachel from Rachel, saying that she will protect British British steel?
Yeah, that's right. They were. It's the story about plans to nationalise British steel if crisis talks fail, I think.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's a very timely intervention from the Chancellor, but also timely in many other ways now too. And of course, with Tariffgate dominating the news at the moment, Billington Holdings is AIM listed. The company's traded trading at 428 pence, as low as 390 pence on the year, and as high as 600p. It also pays a 7.7% dividend too, and this, from a company with a market cap of 56 million, that to me is pretty attractive. So I think there's good reasons to consider this. So it's a UK-based group, and it's focused on manufacturing structural steel and engineering solutions in the UK and Europe. So it's focused domestically, if you like, and in Europe. So the concerns about tariffs in the States aren't an issue for this company. There are several companies within the group. Billington Structures, which is one of the UK's leading steelwork contractors, 75 years and more experience. Easy Edge, which is they manufacture innovative safety barriers and temporary edge barriers to ensure safety on site and safety for the public walking past the site. Hoardit. These are environmentally sustainable and reusable hoarding solutions and branded perimeters. Steel Stairs, Marshall Steel Stairs, which design, fabricate and install engineered steelwork staircases and balustrades. Shafton Steel, this is a steel service and processing centre, and it's a steel manufacturer, so it'll benefit from Rachel from accounts intervention this morning, no doubt. And then SPC, Specialty Protective Coatings, which are coatings for rail, highways, defence, petrochemical energy, and so on. So the company has delivered pretty solid numbers, delivered a really strong set of numbers last year. We are coming up to the next set of full year results, which will be announced next Tuesday. So it's timely from so many standpoints. The company put out a trading update in December and said that as per the interim announcements, so the company had seen a strong trading performance across all of its units. It was benefiting from improved manufacturing and deployment of capital investment across its group companies. The company had undertaken an upgrade to the steel service and processing centre at Shafton. That upgrade has now been completed and is set to be reopened mid 2025. A client of the company's had gone into liquidation, but the company was insured against that liquidation. And it made a statement within this trading statement to say that the impact on its cash flow was materially restricted to the insurance excess the company had to pay on that debt. So that's obviously very encouraging, and I believe that's probably one of the things that's held the share price back, because of course the company there was some uncertainty about the level of debt or money that was owed to the company from the company that's gone into liquidation, which is ISG Construction Holdings. So good strong progress. We're in the run up to this. The results on Tuesday. Mark Smith, the chief exec, said at that trading update in December that he was confident the company will perform robustly in 2025 and beyond. It just makes, as with everything, all investments are about timing. But we've got the company here that's well off its year highs, and I think this could be a surprise turnaround company, and one maybe to have a punt on before the results are out. As they often say in investing, it's better to travel than to arrive.
Mm-hmm. What was the dividend? 7.7%. No, that's good. You see,
yeah, so
very good.
So you're beating inflation. You can own the company, invest into British Steel, and beat inflation too. What's not to like?
Yeah. No, there's some good value plays. I mean, someone was talking about BMW the other day, and I know, of course, Germany is not doing as well in terms of the economy at the moment, but I can't really see BMW disappearing. I mean, it's possible, I suppose. You've got China taking over the car market there, but their share prices are pretty big low, and they were paying 8%, I think. So I think you can pick up some quite good deals at the moment, cheaper share prices, but they're still paying a sort of decent dividend there to keep core shareholders engaged. So this is effectively a play on steel. It's a holdings company that holds is a master company of lots of steel companies, effectively, as you laid out.
That's
so
it.
Okay, so it's a pretty simple message.
It's a simple company, easy to understand, but it's also focused on the UK and Europe, so that there are no issues with tariffs in America hitting the share price or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good one. We've gone from something that's much less risky and pays a dividend, and a much higher market company that to grassroots exploration. So we've come we've come full circle, really. But that's really good. I mean, thank you. Thank you both for your time, as always, and we'll speak again next week.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Dan.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.